Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2 of Lesbian Book Club. We're going to be tackling the rest of Evelyn Hugo's husbands on this episode today, so join us. Are you ready for this?
So ready.
I'm Lauren.
And this is Roxy.
Where do the quiet gays? Where are the quiet gays supposed to go?
That's our intro. Roxy and I went on a little adventure this morning that we wanted to fill everyone in on because one of us almost died.
I mean, technically we both would have died, but sure, please go off.
We went to get breakfast burritos. Everything was great until the drive back. I'll let Roxy tell their side of the story, and then I'll fill you in on what actually happened.
No. I want you to begin because clearly the problem is with you. I see no problem in what I did because there was no problem. I had everything under control. I had full control.
Well, Roxy was driving, which means I, as a Capricorn, was in the passenger seat with an air sign at the wheel. So let's just preface this on who has a better recounting of what happened.
Right.
But anyway, Roxy's driving. They're going to make a right turn onto the street that we have our recording place at. There is a car parked on the curb, a big truck parked on the curb. And they start to pull out as Roxy is turning right. So now my life is in danger. Roxy keeps going, which I had to say, it was the right move, but I almost died. This car was 3 inches from my door. And Roxy has a problem with that measurement. Let me just say my measurements are immaculate. One time I did get a ticket for parking too far away from the curb in Santa Monica. But I think I was well within the 18 inches. But anyway, 3 inches. So I screamed in the car because that's what I do when I'm scared. That's my side of the story. I don't think Roxy did anything wrong. I'm just saying it was a life-threatening situation and my feelings have not been acknowledged.
I'm sorry that your feelings were hurt or put into this weird, catastrophe.
It put me in a goofy position. I'll just say that.
Definitely a goofy position because you made me feel like I was somehow to blame. And let me just put it out there. You said you almost killed me. I did not. I'm making a right turn. I have full visual of what is happening in front of me. Yes, I am an air sign at the wheel, but I'm a very cautious air sign. Why? Because I have a Capricorn moon. I'm going to just say it again. I have a Capricorn moon, all right? That bitch is always in control. I'm making a right turn. And the reason why I have a problem with the measurement is because my car has sensors literally all over the car. And anytime anything is well within 4 to 3 inches from my car starts beeping at me. Did the car beep?
No.
And as soon as I started parking, did the car beep?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was well within 3 inches of range, right?
Okay. I'm sorry I blamed you.
The vehicle to blame here is the car that was pulling out because had I made a full stop to let this vehicle exit, we were on a very big main road, I would have been rear-ended because there was traffic behind me. It was not my fault. But I do acknowledge that it was a goofy position that I put you in, and I apologize for that because, that's real. I did. Your Capricorn alarms were going off in your head.
I think I let my Pisces moon take over in the car on that one. I think you're right. But we did make it back, and Roxy had an amazing chorizo burrito with some spicy salsa. So they're very happy with that decision, yes?
Yes, very good burritos. One of those burritos that you get to experience for the first time once, and I'm glad it was with you.
Aww. And my screaming. Anyway, speaking of screaming, let's get back into Evelyn Hugo.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
This episode, we're going to be going over the rest of the husbands, starting with
my favorite husband, the brilliant, kind-hearted, tortured Harry Cameron.
Can we make a quick segue? Because we forgot to talk about one of my favorite parts when Celia and Evelyn were together previously. Celia wins an Academy Award. Evelyn did not go that year because she was just getting attacked in the press. And Celia wins the Academy Award, and Evelyn is so excited that she kisses the TV, but in doing so, she chips her tooth. And she tells Celia about this when she comes home. Celia comes home. She doesn't even go to the parties because she just wanted to celebrate with Evelyn. And she comes home and Evelyn's like, I chipped my tooth. Like, but I don't care. I'm just so proud of you. And, it's like one of Celia's favorite things about Evelyn. And so now they're back at the Oscars and they haven't seen each other in years. Harry's like, if you don't go with me, you're nominated. And if you don't go because Celia's going to be there, you're an idiot.
So they go to the Oscars and they're about to announce the winner. They're both nominated for the same award along with Ruby, and Ruby wins. However, I feel like in that moment, she was not the winner. Celia's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I think many people probably thought that she was like crying or maybe really upset about it. Mm-hmm. Goes to the bathroom and Evelyn follows her to the bathroom. And that's when they see themselves for the first time in a really long time.
They end up in there alone. Surprise, surprise. And they kind of hash it out a little bit. They kind of like, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you call me? Have you been with men? Have you been with women? And they kind of just have this talk. And it doesn't seem like any of the answers they're giving each other rubs the other one the wrong way. Kind of seems like they've been waiting for each other a bit. Evelyn and Celia end up kissing in the bathroom, and it's actually a really cute scene because Celia has always felt that Evelyn wants to hide her and Evelyn wants to hide their relationship. And now here they are with the entire Hollywood press right behind a door. I believe Evelyn kisses Celia and Celia kisses her back, but then kind of pulls away and is like, anyone could walk in right now. And Evelyn looks at her and goes, I don't care. I want to kiss you. I don't care who walks in. I don't care who sees. I'm ready. And that for Celia was enough.
Oh, man. Yeah. I think this is the part where you fall in love with their love. Mm-hmm. Like just how much you know that they're suffering. And I'm just going to like put a very gentle reminder here. Like we're in the 50s and 60s. It's a hard time to be gay. Nobody's really out. And if you are out, you are cut off in every way, shape, or form. This is very prominent for them. And I think that this is also what makes it so scary. And this is the first time that Evelyn is like, I just don't care anymore. Like I cared for so long and it has destroyed us. And finally, I just want to live us. At this point, Celia, Evelyn, Harry, and John end up moving to New York to live their life and their love in New York together. They end up actually moving right next to each other and they're neighbors and, they're living their best New York life. And it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful time for the four of them, for their love. It looks like a very hetero, like double dating type of thing, but in reality, you know what's behind the scenes. There's a quote that says, we went out to dinner in public, the four of us, looking like two pair of heterosexuals without the heterosexual in the bunch. And that's like my favorite quote because it's like they're each other's beards, but they're just so genuinely happy and they can just show off their happiness and not be worried about the optics of that.
Yeah, what a great situation, honestly. I don't think it could have worked out any better. We really do get to see Evelyn and Celia just loving each other. The things they say to each other are just magical. I remember that one time they were celebrating Evelyn's birthday, but they couldn't go out anywhere. It's like John's a football star, Harry's a big time producer, and then you have two of the like hottest starlets in Hollywood. It would be like Selena Gomez and Taylor Swift going out with their two mega star boyfriends, right?
Selena Gomez has a boyfriend? I thought she was single.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, for you, she is.
I mean, in my mind, she's always single because she's waiting for me.
In my mind, she's 12, so...
Bro, don't say that. First of all, she's older than I am.
She looks like a baby.
She's hot.
For a baby.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. I don't get the Selena craze. I think she's adorable, but like I can't be like, oh, my God.
Selena Gomez, if you're hearing this, I love you. I've loved you since watching you on Disney Channel. I have loved you for a really long time. But it would be like her and Taylor Swift and whoever they're dating, irrelevant, right? But like the stars are the stars.
And if Selena Gomez, if you're listening to this, I would like to meet Taylor Swift. Thank you. But anyway, they're at this picnic for their birthday and they all are wearing wigs. And it's like so silly and they're just so happy. And Celia gives this toast. It's so short and it's so sweet. But for me, it really encompasses just what a star Evelyn is and how almost grateful, I don't think that's the right word, but it's what's coming to my mind, how grateful Celia feels to just be with her. And she says to Evelyn, who has lit up every goddamn room she ever walked into and who day after day makes us feel like we're living in a dream. Celia is so in love with Evelyn, and Evelyn is so in love with Celia.
So there's this part in the book that I think was very intentional by the author. The setting of the place is 1969, and it's a big year for LGBTQ rights. And we know that they're living in New York. They have this amazing place in New York that has like a very good view of the downtown area. They're in their balcony, they're having a good time, and something is happening down in the street. There's a big commotion. People are out in the street. They're rioting. It's the Stonewall riots. They're literally living in the moment of that happening. And there's this really big conversation that happens between the four of them. This is John, Evelyn, Celia, and Harry. Do they go down there? Do they protest? Do they show themselves? Do they add themselves to the cause? Or do they sit back? Celia has a very strong opinion about that.
Celia's my girl. I cannot tell you how much every time Celia reacted to something, I would have reacted the same way. Celia is like, let's go. We are in queer relationships, all four of us, and something's happening. I think everyone felt it. Evelyn and John are very much on the side of like, whoa, let's hold on. Let's hold back on this for just a second and think. There are good motivations and wrong motivations for coming to that conclusion. I think Evelyn was still just scared for all her talk of like, I don't care if anyone comes in to the bathroom when we're kissing. I don't care. She still took a lot of precautions and safety measures to continue to keep their relationship a secret. And this would have blown it all up.
I understood Celia's position very well. Had it been me, I would have definitely felt what Celia was feeling, but I think I understand where Evelyn was coming. And it wasn't just the fear of the relationship. I think she knew they had it so good. But the other part that I actually agreed with Evelyn on this was, we're going to take away from their cause. And that is like such a profound awareness of your power and position. I think at that point, Harry was the decision divider from the four of them. And he said, what if we make donations? What if we move our money in an intentional way so that we support the cause and we are like the background supporters that are funding the cause, but not necessarily the face of it. We don't need to be the face of it because we already have it so good, because we get to live our life the way we want to. And there are literally people who are dying and we don't want to take away from that. I respect that. Like, I don't know what it is like about that moment that I was like, wow, I had never even thought about it from that perspective. At first I would have been like, hell yeah, get your faces out there, let it be known. We're here, we're queer, and we're gonna fuck all of this shit up, burn it to the ground, you know? It made me realize such power of awareness to have that understanding of the positions that you're in that moment in time.
That's very logical. Very fair.
And one of the things about me is that as much as I have a lot of feelings and emotions, I don't think I'm ever driven by them. Like, I will feel them, but I feel like there's always this little worm in the back of my mind. I always think of Mulan and the little dragon. I feel like I have my little dragon, and that's the one that holds me back.
You have a Mushu?
I have a Mushu. He's like down Bessie.
So Mushu was like so impulsive.
I have the opposite of whatever Mushu was doing.
Amazing. You're the cricket that's like, no. Hold it back. But let me just put it out there, because I just had a conversation recently with someone talking about being emotion-led and logic-led. I think they're both equally important. I think it was funny, Michelle Wolf had a really funny quote in her stand-up where she was like, oh, women are too emotional. Well, I wouldn't, want to be too logical. Like, okay, all the men who want to be logical, okay, serial killers, like, fine, But I'm a very emotion-led person, and I don't think it's a negative. Feel like I put emotion and logic on the same plane where I want both of them, because sometimes your logical voice is going to keep you from getting what you truly desire. And if you're just constantly going out of logic, you're never going to take chances. You're never going to take risks. I think our emotions tell us something. I think our emotions tell us who we are. I think our emotions lead us to a greater understanding of compassion. I can see from both Celia and Evelyn's perspective. I just don't think Evelyn's perspective was like the logical Harry Cameron one. I think it had a lot of fear behind it. I remember thinking that and being like, it is the right choice for kind of the wrong reason.
That's fair. I think that's fair. And of course, in good old fashion of Evelyn Hugo, she has to stir it up. It can't be perfect. I get that. Like, as a Latina, I get that. I don't know why, but we got to stir things up. We don't do bland. Got to spice things up here and there. And the way that she wants to spice it up is she wants to have a baby.
I was going to say, is it spicing it up or is it just drama?
Is it really that different? Like, spicing it up, drama, if you will.
So Evelyn wants to have a baby. And yeah, that is spicing up their relationship. It's changing all four of their relationships because whose baby is this going to be? They are a foursome pair. Again, the 60s. How did two women have babies?
Can we call them a quad? Because, like, that's the word that comes to mind. They're a quad. What irritates me about the situation, though, is not that she wants to have a baby. It's the way that she doesn't communicate that with everyone. She only communicates that with Harry. And I think that she leaves out the most important person from the conversation, but also, like, John should be in it, too.
Evelyn almost comes to Celia saying the decision has been made versus being like, you're my partner. What do you think about being a stepmom? Or a mom or an aunt, which I think is kind of how they negotiate this. I just think it's Evelyn coming to Celia and asking for more sacrifice. Celia doesn't want to be a mom, but she loves Evelyn so much that she's willing. She's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll be, the aunt, and I'm okay with that position. But it's just Evelyn asking more and more and more of Celia, in my opinion.
Okay, but this is where I become, again, an Evelyn Hugo apologist, because I feel like she has now transitioned into this part of her life where she's so happy and she feels like she's ready for more. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't have these conversations openly with her partner. She should. She absolutely should. But I gotta tip my hat off to this badass Latina because she does not ask for permission. She just knows she wants something and she's going to go get it. And at the same time, like, I
am shaking my head over here.
Look, she's the kind of person who is going to just do the damn thing and ask for permission later.
I think you have to ask for consent to have a baby when you're in a long-term partnership with someone. Regardless, though, of how she approached the situation with Celia. Celia gets on board. Now the question is, how are we doing this? Are you going to sleep with Harry? And remember, Evelyn is bisexual. Celia, not that Celia has a problem with her being bisexual, but they're in.
I'm just going to pause you right there because I actually do feel like Celia does have a problem with her being bisexual. And I want to talk about it because I think that the fundamental problem here is not that she's bisexual, is that she has by she, I mean Evelyn. Evelyn has the capacity to have sex with men, and it's just sex. For Celia, it's very different. Like, sex means more to her, and it's sacred.
I get Celia. I feel similarly. Like, it just seems... I'm struggling to find the words because I feel kind of deeply about it. Celia doesn't think that you can have sex and have it not mean anything. And I am in a similar camp. I understand that people can do that. I've never experienced it myself, so it's hard to imagine. Especially, like, that's the love of her life. And for Celia, giving of her body is giving of herself. And to give the okay for Evelyn to then go and have what Celia considers a very sacred experience with someone. Yes, it's to make a baby. Yes, it doesn't mean anything. It still hurts. And I think that goes back to you talking about, in the first episode, sometimes when your partner cheats on you or has sex with a man, it's a fundamental, I'll let you speak on it, but.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going back on what I said in many ways, and that's okay. That's part of my Gemini brain, you know? Like I tend to teeter-totter.
You're Gemini?
Okay. I think as myself being lesbian, have had long-term relationships with bisexuals before, I think the part that hurts is you can't offer what a man can offer. I know that I don't have parts like a man. I know that I can't do many things that man can do, and that's totally fine, you know. But there's a lot of things that I can do, and there's a lot of ways that I can please. I think that's the part that hurts Celia the most, is that she basically has to admit to herself that she can't give the one thing that her partner wants the most, is give her a baby. And that's a fucking like, oh, just like gut wrench, like, get me out of the sweater, it's getting hot in here, you know? Like, it's like, but at the same time, like for Evelyn, this is the part where like, if I were to redo this, I think that what I would have wanted in this moment, in this conversation, is to be reassured. There's a lot happening for her on the inside. And for Evelyn, she's just basically saying like, no, like it's just sex and I just want to have a baby. And for me, the more important part is to have the baby and be able to share that with Celia.
Celia does eventually get on board with Evelyn to have the baby. She did have to take a bit to think about it. And to Evelyn's credit, she let Celia have that time. And Celia came back to her one night and was like, I want to talk to you. I think they're in their bedroom. When Celia agrees, it's this really beautiful conversation. And, these two women are connecting. One of them's getting something that she's really desired. And Celia feels like in giving permission, she's also giving Evelyn a baby. And they end up making love. And Evelyn says, she looked into my eyes and made me feel rapture. And that night, in giving of herself, she gave me a baby. And I think that's a really beautiful way for Evelyn to look at it, to be like, this baby was ours. It's going to be, Harry's as well. But like, in your acceptance of this, even though it's not something you wanted, you gave it to me anyway. Evelyn really does view Celia as giving her this baby, which I think is beautiful.
In 1975, Connor Margaret Cameron is born.
Going back to that picnic that we were talking about earlier where they were all wearing wigs, this is kind of the setup for the next gut punchline in this story. I cried. Well, first I was like taken aback, but I'm going to read it. It says, it was one of the last times we were all together, laughing, smiling, happy, a family, because after that, I ruined it. And I was just like, Evelyn, what the fuck? What did you do? I was mad. I was so mad because I knew if anyone was going to fuck this up for the four of them, it would be Evelyn. Then to go on and read what she did, I was livid. As a Celia apologist, again, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. I'm going to say shame on you again, Evelyn. And I'll let my Evelyn apologist go now.
How about we just first talk about what happened before I start apologizing, because then it's not going to be fair. So at this point, Evelyn is recovering from giving birth. There's a whole process, and she's getting all the love and support from Celia. And Harry comes with this really, really big opportunity that has been presented to him that he's going to produce himself. And he says there's this one role for this really big movie. They think it's going to be such a hit. However, there's one catch. It's with Dawn. And as soon as she gets this role from Harry, her first thought, and this is why I'm going to say she did the right thing, Evelyn goes to Celia and tells her, there's this opportunity for me to do this really big production. However, it's with Dawn. I think Celia was a little bit taken back, but she knows the business deal. She's in it herself. Right. She's like, you know what? This is a really big opportunity for you. I think it's really going to be really good for your career. You're just getting back into it. You've been out for almost a year, and it'll be really good for you to show your face again and for you to have a big shot at another potential Academy Award.
Which all credit to Celia. I think Celia is constantly put in the position of having to be the bigger person. And I think Evelyn puts her in that position a lot. To be fair, I think this was the right decision for Celia. I don't think Celia had anything to worry about with Dawn other than, I don't think Dawn's going to hit her. I don't think Celia thought that. I don't think Celia thought that there was going to be any danger to Evelyn. So yeah, she says go for it.
So on set, this is where we meet Max Girard, who is the director of the film that Evelyn is doing with Dawn. And he has the brilliant idea. He's like infatuated with Evelyn, thinks she's so hot, this babe on set. And it's like, you know what would make this movie even better than what it is right now? If we add a freaking sex scene in it, show a little bit of titties, you know? Make it very spicy and delicious where Dawn says absolutely yes. And Evelyn is put in this position on the spot where she basically has to agree to it or not. And she says yes.
This sex scene is so dramatic and graphic. It takes the rating in the 70s from an R to an X rating. Evelyn doesn't consult Celia because she knew what the answer would be. That's my sticking point. This right here, I said I had 2 major sticking points with Evelyn. This is my second one. Again, she did not talk to her partner. Her partner, who has forgiven her once, actually broke up with her for 5 years, forgiven her, got back together, agreed to a baby, loves her unconditionally. She does it again. It kills my soul a little bit for Celia. But let's talk a little bit about how that went down.
My whole thing with this movie is that Celia knew it was rated R. She understood the dynamics that she was going to be in. And I think that the reason, and she says it in the book, why she did not ask for permission is because she knew the answer. And she knew that this movie, in order for her to be successful, she needed to do everything in her power to get there. And to be very honest, like, yes, it was the most selfish thing to do, to not consult her partner, but she did it for her career. And let me tell you, I admire and respect people who are willing to do whatever it takes for their career. It's not the right approach. It's not the right, under the right terms or anything, but she did what she had to do in the moment in time that she was in.
I don't respect it. I don't respect people who will do whatever they need to do to further their career. I don't think career is the most important thing in life.
But that's your take. Like, there's people who are out there who think that their career is everything. I think that the way that Evelyn was thinking about it in this moment in time is she can have both. I know for a fact that Evelyn was not thinking like, oh, Celia's going to leave me for this. Had she known that, she would have never done it. But Evelyn, I think that Evelyn is the kind of person who like is very driven by the moment. And so she's going to do whatever it takes in that moment. And I don't even think she thinks that far ahead to her consequences, to her actions. You know, she's just that kind of person. She's very like self-motivated and driven.
That sounds like a toddler to me, having to make a decision in the moment. Like, she could have told him, hold on. Here's the thing though. I think Evelyn backs up my point where she says that she did something wrong. She says to Monique, she says, what I should have done was tell him I had to think about it, the director. What I should have done was tell Celia about it the moment I got home. What I should have done was give her a say. I should have given her the opportunity to express any misgivings. I should have respected that while she had no place to tell me what I could and could not do with my body, I did have a responsibility to inquire about how my actions might affect her. You're saying, oh, like she was going to do it anyway. She knew the answer would be no. She didn't think Celia would leave. This to me says, I knew it was wrong. I did it anyway.
This is her talking to Monique as retrospect though. Like, she's basically saying at this moment in time right now, looking back, this is what I should have done. She's not talking about what moment she was in present day at that day that those options were given to her. I do think that there was at that point a lot of pressure for her as a woman in the academy. Women did a lot of things to get certain roles back then, and we've seen this throughout her career. And so I think for her, it was just one of those things. In that moment, I think retrospect, looking back, she understands the full consequences and she sees the bigger picture. I think in that moment, it was a little bit harder for her to see the larger picture. And I think that's a theme with Evelyn overall, is she has a hard time with the bigger picture stuff.
I think as a Capricorn, it's really hard for me to understand that. Like, it's really hard for me to understand people who don't see a bigger picture, especially when you've made the exact mistake and lost everything the first time. Like, I don't know why she thought Celia would be okay with this. She ends up doing the sex scene. She does not tell Celia. She comes home and she basically says to Celia, I'm going to ask for permission. Even though I've already done it, I'm not going to tell her I've already done it. I'm going to see if she agrees. Then there's no problem. There's no problem at all because I've got her agreement.
Evelyn is having this really intimate conversation with Celia. She brings up that there could be a potential sex scene in the movie with Dawn. And Celia is like, absolutely not. I can't even begin to fathom or have the thought of you sleeping with Dawn, Mick, or Harry. Just the thought of that is repulsive to Celia. Celia literally starts begging Evelyn not to do the scene. And there is like a very intense moment where Celia's crying, telling her, please don't do it. Don't do it. If you love me, don't do it.
I'm going to read it because and I might cry while reading it because it's so in character with Celia. It's so in character of her authenticness, her genuineness. She's sharing her true feelings on this subject with Evelyn, who, bear in mind, has already done it. And Celia, she says, I feel like I'm failing you, but I can't do it. I can't. I know myself, and I know that this is too much for me. I'll be too sick over it. I'll make myself ill thinking of you with him. I'm sorry. I don't have it in me. I can't handle it. I want to be stronger for you. I do. I know that if the tables were turned, you could handle it. I feel like I'm disappointing you, and I'm so sorry, Evelyn. I will work forever to make it up to you. I'll help you get any part you want for the rest of our lives, and I'll work on getting there so the next time this happens, I can be stronger. But please, Evelyn, I can't live through you sleeping with another man. Even if this time it only looks real, I can't do it. Please, please, please don't do this. How do you do that to this woman again?
Well, this is where Evelyn realizes she fucked up. Again.
How many times do we have to say again, though? Again, again, again. And this woman who she claims to love is collateral damage.
So Evelyn musters up the courage to tell her that she did the scene. Celia is so heartbroken.
I'm gonna cry.
And decides that she's gonna leave John, leave Evelyn, leave their lives in New York, and move back to LA.
Celia tells her, she says, all I've ever wanted was for you to be truly mine. But you've never been mine. Not really. I've always had to settle for one piece of you, while the world gets the other half. I don't blame you. It doesn't make me stop loving you, but I can't do it, Evelyn. I can't live with my heart half broken all of the time. Evelyn, you're not capable of giving it up, and you never will be. And it will be the tragedy of my life that I cannot love you enough to make you mine, that you cannot be loved enough to be anyone's.
I cried. I'm not going to lie. I cried when I read that because I understood Celia, but I also understood Evelyn and why she did it and why she had the capacity to even do it in the first place. And when Celia leaves, I do feel like Evelyn breaks at that point. Like something in her snaps and is able to really, really process how fucked up she fucked up. Evelyn says she always made sure the bad was outweighed by so much good. I didn't do that for her. I made it 50-50, which is about the cruelest thing you can do to someone you love. Give them just enough good to make them stick through the hell of a lot of bad.
Yeah, Celia leaves and Evelyn is heartbroken again.
At this moment, when Celia leaves, a lot of things happen for the remaining three musketeers, which is Evelyn, Harry, and John. Evelyn is very devastated, but then something happens in the trio where John gets a really bad heart attack. And it came out of the blue. And nobody expected this at all. He was actually the healthiest. Remember, he's the football player. And unfortunately, with this heart attack, John dies. And it absolutely shatters and breaks Harry to a point of no return.
It shatters Celia too, and it shatters Evelyn as well. But Celia's shattered by this news. Harry begins drinking excessively. Evelyn is watching the father of her child and her husband at this point just spiral, really just almost drinking himself to death, it seems, because he's so heartbroken. Harry is just gone emotionally, having a really hard time. He's trying to keep it together for Connor, and he's trying to keep it together for Evelyn, but he is struggling. Celia's out in LA, and Evelyn starts seeing Max Girard, who was the director of the Don Adler and Evelyn Hugo movie.
In 1980, Evelyn finally wins Best Actress from the Oscars. And this is the point where I know Evelyn had a hard time with this award, because she finally achieved what she had been working so hard for, but she realized what she had to sacrifice in order to win that award. I think this is like where like your heart wants what it wants, but your ego craves what it craves. And, you know, like she knew she wanted to be the best, and she finally got this award. Max proposes to her. She brings this up to Harry, and Harry, in his lowest of low points, says, I want you to find happiness. And he's not opposed to the marriage, and so they decide to cut it quits.
So that's the end of Harry Cameron and Evelyn Hugo. It's obviously not the end of their friendship, but it is the end of their, I believe, 16-year marriage. They were married for a very long time.
One thing too, Max knows that Harry is gay. So he understood the dynamic that Evelyn and him had in their relationship. He loves Connor, loves her so much, and he likes Harry. And so at that point, Evelyn kind of recognizes and realizes this might be the next best move.
Okay, our sixth husband is the disappointing Max Girard.
So at this point, Evelyn and Max are getting married, and Evelyn quickly realizes that Max is only getting married with her because of who she is in terms of celebrity status, not really because of who she is as a person. And there's actually a really good quote that she says where they're getting married in Joshua Tree, and at some point he's like, okay, can we leave now? The whole reason why I'm here is because I get to be with the Evelyn Hugo.
And he's like, no one's going to see us in Joshua Tree. Evelyn realizes that he's really just in it for the fame, and he loves the idea of her, but not her. At this point, she's in her, I want to say, late 40s, early 50s, and she doesn't want a sixth divorce. She's given up on Celia. Harry's still her best friend, but he's going through it. You know, she's got Connor. She just wants a quiet life. She's achieved all the things career-wise that she's wanted to do.
At this point, too, Evelyn is keeping a very close eye on Celia in terms of her career, what she's accomplishing. In the late 80s, Celia gets nominated to win another Oscar, and Evelyn is watching and following that very closely. And as she's watching the ceremony from New York, Celia wins the Oscar, and she's so happy for her, enamored with the idea that her love is winning this award.
So let's talk about Celia's speech, because they haven't spoken to each other in a long time. No letters, no phone calls. And sometimes Evelyn gets little tidbits from Harry about how she's doing. But when Celia goes to accept her award, she reaches out to Evelyn through her speech, which I think Evelyn found really special. Celia says, oh, I hope no one is at home tonight and chips their tooth when they kiss the television screen. Evelyn, I mean, imagine being on the receiving end of that. Someone you've hurt offers you an olive branch. Again, Celia being a bigger person and just saying, like, I know you're watching. You know, I know you're happy for me.
And she's so proud of her. She decides to write her a letter, a congratulatory letter, to tell her how proud she is of her. Evelyn goes back and forth as to whether or not she should send this letter. But then at the end, she says, you know what? I'm going to send it out. And she sends it out with the intention of not necessarily receiving anything in return. And she writes, my dearest Celia, congratulations. You absolutely deserve it. There is no doubt you are the most talented actress of our generation. I wish for nothing more than your complete and total happiness. I did not kiss the TV this time, but I did cheer just as loudly as I did the other times. All my love, Edward, cross it out, Evelyn.
So she does end up sending that letter. She said, I sent it with the piece of sending off a message in a bottle, which is to say that I expected no response. But a week later, there it was, a small, square, cream-colored envelope addressed to me. And to me, I'm like, a week later, Celia's in LA, Evelyn's in New York. It's got to be 3 days to get there. Celia got that letter, read it immediately, wrote a response, and sent it back. And what she wrote was, my dearest Evelyn, reading your letter felt like gasping for air after being trapped underwater. I hope you will forgive me for being so blunt, but how did we make such a mess of it all? And what does it mean that we have not spoken in a decade, but I still hear your voice in my head every day? XO, Celia.
Then Evelyn replies, my dearest Celia, I own all of our missteps. I was selfish and short-sighted. I can only hope that you have found bliss somewhere else. You deserve so much happiness, and I am so sorry I could not give that to you. Love, Evelyn.
If this isn't like quintessential lesbian love, I don't know what it is. Like
I'm crying.
I know, the pining, but just like
the longing,
the
sapphic chaos.
I mean, they're the sweetest to each other. And I think it's just like, again, hindsight. Like, you know, looking back, you know, they're in their 50s now. And, you know, they're looking back and they're saying, like, why? Why did we do these things? Celia responds, we're just going to read these letters because they're just too adorable. Celia says, my dearest Evelyn, you are dealing in revisionist history. I was insecure and petty and naive. I blamed you for the things you did to keep our secrets. But the truth is, each time you stopped the outside world from coming into our life, I felt immense relief. And all my happiest moments were orchestrated by you. I never gave you enough credit for that. We were both to blame, but you were the only one to ever apologize. Please let me rectify that now. I'm sorry, Evelyn. Love, Celia. P.S. I watched 3 a.m. some months ago. It is a bold, brave, important film. I would have been wrong to stand in the way of it. You have always been so much more talented than I ever gave you credit for.
Then Evelyn replies, my dearest Celia, do you think lovers can ever be friends? I hate to think of the years we have left in this life wasted by continuing not to speak. Love, Evelyn.
My dearest Evelyn, is Max like Harry? Like Rex? Love, Celia.
My dearest Celia, I am sorry to say that no, he is not. He is different, but I am desperate to see you. Can we meet? Love, Evelyn.
My dearest Evelyn, to be frank, that news breaks me. I do not know if I could bear seeing you given those circumstances. Love, Celia.
My dearest Celia, I have called you many times in the past week, but you have not returned my calls. I'll try again. Please, Celia, please. Love, Evelyn.
And then the next chapter opens with, hello. Her voice sounded exactly like it used to, sweet but somehow firm.
So at this point in the book, they're connecting, they're keeping in touch, they want to see each other, and they set up this arrangement that they're going to meet up in LA. Evelyn is doing everything in her power to pack up, get ready, board this flight that is leaving literally in just a couple hours.
So she's trying to make her way to the airport. She goes down, she gets in the car, and she realizes she forgot the letters. These letters that she left in her closet in this like very special box. You know, I mean, I'm not going to say we all have them.
We all have the
okay, yeah.
box.
Yes. Okay, great.
You
well,
know, mine is not really a box, but well, just yeah, they'll call it a box. It's a backpack.
Mine's a box. That was a strap-on joke. Well, mine is actually a box of special things that I keep. Anyway, Evelyn has forgotten the letters. She runs upstairs to grab them. She wants them with her. She also doesn't want anyone finding them, but I think it's more that she does want them with her.
So she goes back and goes in search for the letters. In her way of getting and reaching those letters is Max holding them in his hand. And he has read through them and knows Evelyn's secret.
Max has a very interesting reaction. He doesn't really mind the infidelity he tells her. He has a problem with her and Celia. He has a problem with her being with a woman. He says, I suppose I can believe that you're having an affair, but what I can't believe is that you're a dyke.
One thing to note from this time is that it's a slur. Like, what he calls her is a slur. And we already know that Evelyn doesn't even like to be called bisexual. She doesn't like labels. She basically says when he calls her a dyke, she closed her eyes. She started burning up with anger inside. It was a really big sting for her, and she felt it all over her body.
She tells Max the letters are none of his business. He responds and says, well, if you go to this meeting with her, like, we're done. I will destroy you in the press. I will tell everyone that you're a lesbian and what's going on. And again, Evelyn, now this time I think she means it. She says, I don't care. I'm leaving.
And she tells him in his face that she loves Celia. And he calls her a lesbian. And he says, no. She says, but I love a lesbian.
Oh, man, I do love that. Seems to finally be like accepting, but also like kind of going to bat for her girl. It does seem for the third time now she's going, I'm going for it. I'm going to do it.
She said, I'm going back to Cali.
And she goes. And that's the end of Max Girard.
So then Celia and Evelyn meet back in LA, and Evelyn tells Celia that she's the only woman that she's ever loved. And when they meet, they're both much older. And there's a point where they're having a conversation, and she starts telling her, like, this is why you can't love me, because I'm like getting older, I'm getting wrinkles. Like, there's like all these things that can be wrong with people supposedly when they're older. And at some point, the bombshell drops.
Celia has emphysema from a lifetime of smoking. She has, I want to say, about 7 years left to live. Evelyn and Celia just both don't know whether they can take that heartbreak again. It's a really heartbreaking conversation because these two women have come to a point where they realize they are the love of each other's life. They can't live without each other. They're mourning the years they wasted not being together. And now there's a finite point of time that they have left. And it's like, what are you going to do with that time?
And I think for Evelyn, it's very clear what they need to do with that time. She's like, Celia, you're the only woman I've ever loved, and I want to love you for whatever time we have left. And I think at this point is where we really do see the selflessness of Celia shine through, which is, she tells her, like, you don't deserve to see the worst days of my life. You deserve to remember me by my best. But I think Evelyn, being the Evelyn that she is, will always get her way, and manages to convince Celia she wants to be with her, and that she will marry Celia's brother in order to be with her and move out and give up whatever life and career she had here in the United States so she can be with the true love of her life.
There is one flaw in the plan, and that's Connor and Harry. I mean, Harry and Evelyn are still best friends. Connor is a teenager. It's just a hard situation where Evelyn knows what she wants with her life, but other people, a lot of times she didn't take into consideration other people's thoughts or feelings about the things she did. And now you're seeing, like, she has to think of Connor. She has to think of Harry. So she goes and she presents the idea to Harry.
Harry is not as on board with the idea. He actually thinks it's a bad idea. And he tells her that he just doesn't agree. And he says he wants to create an arrangement like before, where Celia marries a friend of his, where they can still continue to hide and be in the States. And I think he's thinking more of Connor than anyone else. There's a point where Evelyn is like, no, like, this is the plan and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, and at this point, too, Connor's also spiraling a little bit. I mean, she's not having the best time. Her mom is a superstar, and I think that's hard for any kid would be to be in the spotlight like that. Evelyn ends up getting Connor on board. She actually does come out to Connor and says, like, remember your Aunt Celia? And Connor actually doesn't remember her, which is so sad because Celia was there for such a formative time in Connor's life.
So there's still this, like, trouble with the plan, and Celia's like, well, maybe this is not going to happen after all. Evelyn is filming something in LA. She's about to go back to New York, try to solidify the plans, and she's going to meet up with Harry. And so while she's doing this, she meets up with her driver, Nick. On their way, there is a very bad car accident leading to Harry's house where she's going to go pick him up. She goes up to the car, realizes that it's Harry in the driver's seat, and he smells of bourbon. She pulls him out of the vehicle, rips the seatbelt, and then at some point notices that there's another person in the vehicle with him. Nick goes checks on the other gentleman to see if he's alive and is checking for a pulse and tells Evelyn the other man is dead. Evelyn, in desperation, tells her, help me with Harry. Please, we need to take him to the hospital. They both pull Harry out of the vehicle, put him in the car, and drive him to the hospital. They move the other young gentleman to the driver's seat so that it looks like it was just one person in the car the whole time.
And they do this out of desperation. Honestly, they're trying to keep Harry's name clean for Harry's own sake, for Connor's sake, for Evelyn's sake. I can't say, in my opinion, I can't say this is the wrong decision or that I would have necessarily done something different. You can't say what you're going to do in a situation like this until you're like literally in the situation. So I don't want to judge Evelyn's act in this moment. Probably the only time I won't.
And then the other thing that happens is Nick is freaking out and wants to go clean and tell the police. And Evelyn's like, no, you're going to keep your mouth shut. And he's like, fine, I'll keep my mouth shut if you make me famous. And so that was the last deal that Evelyn made. She made the calls that she needed to make Nick famous.
Unfortunately, Harry doesn't make it. I cried when I read that because Harry was just the very best character in this book. Such a good character who helped Evelyn every turn of event in her life, helped Celia, helped John.
Best dad to Connor.
Was such a good dad. Oh man. He didn't get a happy ending to his story. And he had just found this. So we know that the man that was with him was the man that he was seeing. You know, Evelyn, before Harry died, was like seeing Harry kind of get on the right track, kind of come back to life. And Harry had told Evelyn that he met someone and he was happy. And so at this point, we're assuming that the man that was in the car with him was his lover. That does get confirmed.
And we're going to get to that later after we finish with the seventh husband. Husband number 7 is the agreeable Robert Jamison, and this is Celia's brother. Evelyn agrees to marry Celia's brother, and Celia's health is deteriorating right before their eyes. They move to Spain to kind of keep everything on the down low, not get any media press. And here is where they have their ceremony. Evelyn decides with Celia that they want to do something to celebrate their love, and they decide to do a wedding, a ceremony of sorts. At that time, it was still not legal to have same-sex marriage. And it's described as this very beautiful moment where they both finally get to say I do to each other, and they get to confess their love and how they feel for each other. They get to spend, I believe it was 10 years together. And then in the early 2000s, Celia dies.
Oh, it's so heartbreaking. I felt like as a reader, I had regret. It just didn't seem like enough time. They were so happy together. And it's like, you guys met when you were 17 and 19 years old. They could have had their whole lives together.
After this, there's a break that happens in the story, and we come back to Monique and Evelyn.
Evelyn has finished telling her story, and she comes to the point that Monique has been waiting for this whole time of, why me? Why did you pick me? We don't have a lot of information about the man that was in the car with Harry Cameron when he died. However, what we find out is that the man that Harry Cameron was in love with was actually Monique's dad, James Grant. This is a shock to Monique. She actually doesn't believe it. She thought her mom and dad were really happy, and she knows that, her dad did pass away when she was 8. He was a set photographer, and that's how Harry and him met. And her dad was gay and was in love with Harry. And so Monique and Evelyn's lives are extremely wrapped up together. I mean, Evelyn moved her father's body to make it look like he crashed this car. And I think there was alcohol in his system. And that just didn't make sense to Monique because her dad didn't drink and drive. So for that to be the way he died, and now to learn, though, that he wasn't driving and he was almost framed for this, and it was all Evelyn and her idea. And now Evelyn, again, I'm so sorry. Evelyn puts people in positions that they don't consent to, that they don't agree to be in. They don't have all the information. She withholds all this information to get what she wants. She's still doing it. Oh, it makes me mad.
In this moment, Evelyn gives Monique a letter that her father had written to Harry, where James tells Harry that he loves them so much, but cannot leave his wife and daughter because he loves them more. Monique is furious, doesn't know what to do with all of this information other than like she wants to kill Evelyn literally on the spot. Evelyn tells Monique that she also has breast cancer. She tells her that she needs to do the photo shoot for the cover of the thing that she's writing, because at that point her boss Frankie is telling her we need pictures of Evelyn. Monique has to be there for those pictures, and Evelyn tells her it's today or no day. Monique is like, why today? Like, what is so special about today? Why does it have to be today? I don't want to see you anymore, but I have to be here for this photo shoot.
Yeah, at this point, Monique is putting pieces together. She's coming to understand why Evelyn picked her. We do find out in the beginning of the book something we didn't mention, but a piece of writing that Monique was really proud of was an assisted suicide piece that she had written while she was in college that got published, and it's actually what got her hired at Vivant. Evelyn told her there was a multitude of reasons that she was picked. So not only the connection with her dad and kind of wanting to get that off her chest, she's realizing now Evelyn's plan, like she doesn't have anything to live for at this point. Now she's told her truth and she's ready to go. She saw the way Connor went. And if anybody has watched someone with breast cancer, lose their battle, it's heartbreaking. It's one of the worst things you could watch. And, Evelyn doesn't want to go through that. She has no reason to go through that. Connor fought really hard. And Evelyn, A, didn't have that fight, and B, just didn't see the point.
I think this goes to speak back to who Evelyn is, that she has power and she's going to use all of her power. Monique leaves knowing what she knows, and in many ways she was never going to stop her. This is where Monique's mother comes to visit her. She goes to the airport and picks up her mom and asks her mom about her marriage to her dad.
And her mom reminded me of Celia a lot in her reaction because her mom loved her dad. Just the sun rose and set with James Grant for Monique's mom. And Monique doesn't end up telling her about Harry, about his other life, because she knew that her dad was a good man. I think through understanding Evelyn's story of the torment and the torture of being in the closet and all the things that went with Evelyn's life, she didn't feel the need for her mom to experience some of that heartbreak as well. I think Monique learned a lot from Evelyn. I think Monique learned a lot from Celia. I think it was the right decision.
The most beautiful way to end the book was with Monique and her mom sitting down to watch one of Evelyn's old films. Monique reflects a lot while watching the film, and she realizes that she probably will forgive Evelyn one day. The next day, the press announces that Evelyn has died of drug overdose in her mansion, the mansion that Monique was just in the day before. And then Monique decides to publish the book. It's just such a beautiful, well-written book, and there's so many twists and turns. I was shocked with the Monique's dad thing. I was like, what the, like, who and what? It was so beautifully, just placed. Mm-hmm. It was so good.
And that's how it ends. That's our girl. That's The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I could read this book again and again, and I probably will. So should we get into our profiles? Because we
Let's get it.
Okay, let's start with Evelyn. What are we thinking? We're going to try and do their sun, moon, and rising. Evelyn Hugo, we disagree.
We do disagree
on this. Because I say Leo, and Roxy says...
I think she's a Gemini.
And I can understand that. I just think, superstar, the drive, the passion, the spotlight... I don't know. It just fits for me.
I just think that she has this very short-sighted sense a lot of times. Yes, she's driven. The notions of what's behind the driver's seat are not well thought out. I'm a Gemini, so I understand. I think she does have Leo in her top 3. For me, it would be Gemini, Leo, Leo. And that's why she comes off that strong. Or Gemini, Leo, Aries. Gemini sun, Leo moon, and Aries rising.
Yeah, I do think that Evelyn has a lot of fire in her chart for sure. I would definitely say Leo and Gemini are in there. Yeah, we could throw in an Aries or a Leo. Yeah, I say we got some air and some fire with Evelyn. Okay, Celia. We're better on Celia.
Yeah,
on
I
this
think
one.
so.
I think Celia has a Cancer moon. I say Celia's a Libra. I think Celia's an air sign. I think she's passionate. I think she's a little naive sometimes, but I think she's also good at seeing both sides. And that's why she is able to understand Evelyn and her point of view to a point. Understands doing the movie with Dawn and Evelyn's going back and forth. I think Celia was, as a Libra, was really good at tempering that in her.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on the Libra placement. Definitely a Libra sun. I think the reason why she kept coming back is because of her Libra-ness.
I want to say I love a Libra. I think they're wonderful. As a Capricorn, Libras balance out my black and whiteness. They are very good at getting me to see the other side sometimes. So I love a Libra.
One of the things that I actually agree with the Cancer moon as well. I think what I would put as her rising would be Pisces. I also think she's a Cancer Venus. There's no fucking way she's not. And I actually think that Evelyn would be a Gemini Venus.
And then our third person that I think will profile is Harry Cameron. We definitely have a similar take on Harry.
I think Harry is a motherfucking Capricorn sun. There's no doubt in my mind. When we first meet Harry is not at the top of the academy in any way. Mm-mm. Working really hard to figure out who's who, doing all of the work that needs to be done, knows what his goals are very early, and knows who he needs to associate himself with in order to get there. That's Capricorn energy all the way.
So moon sign wise, he's not insanely emotional. He's pretty level-headed, pretty chill. I would say that's an earth sign moon right there, but not Capricorn. Thinking more of a Taurus moon. Pretty steady.
Stubborn as
There we
hell.
go. There we go. That's the word I was thinking. Stubborn for sure. Rising sign, I don't know, honestly, with Harry. I would say he has a lot of earth energy, but you know what? I think to make it in Hollywood, you probably need a little fire. So I'd probably give him... Ooh.
I was going to say Sagittarius. Hear me out. Sagittarius risings are adventurous to a point, right? Mm-hmm. I think the reason why they were very successful was because of earth placements. But the Sag is what makes Harry Harry. Mm-hmm. The rising, the personality, the charisma, you know, a Capricorn can only go so far, but if you add a little bit of spice.
Hey. My 5 Capricorn placements are going to beg to differ. Okay, so our main girls, I would say, are Evelyn, Gemini, Celia, Libra, 2 air signs, and then their third trio over there, just that earth sign coming in to just
bring them back to earth.
Yeah, they're floating so high in the clouds. Harry's like, girls, please don't make my job harder. Okay.
Well, I guess this concludes our first book.
I'm so excited. Do we have an idea of what we're going to do next?
I think we do, but I also want to open it up to our audience.
If there's a book that you would like us to read and go over, please let us know and give us reviews. We need the reviews.
Let us know what you think. Your thoughts are always welcome. So please go down and hit that 5-star button. And we will see you here for the next book.
Thanks, guys. Bye.